The rain came down in sheets that Thursday evening, turning the sidewalk outside Marcello's, the city's most exclusive Italian restaurant, into a river of broken reflections. Maya stood beneath the awning, her second-hand dress clinging to her shoulders, mascara probably streaking down her cheeks, though she couldn't bring herself to check. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see them, Derek and Vanessa, laughing over champagne that cost more than Maya's monthly rent. The ring on Vanessa's finger caught the candlelight, throwing tiny rainbows across their table. That ring should have been hers. Those promises should have been hers. That life should have been hers. But here she was instead, soaked and shaking, watching the man she'd loved for 3 years celebrate his engagement to someone else exactly 1 month after their breakup. "You're too much," Derek had told her when he ended things. "Too needy, too emotional, too poor. I need someone who fits my lifestyle, Maya. You have to understand." She'd understood, all right. She understood that 6 years of medical school debt and a studio apartment in a questionable neighborhood didn't photograph well for his Instagram aesthetic. She understood that her nursing scrubs weren't as glamorous as Vanessa's designer suits. She understood that love, apparently, had a price tag she couldn't afford. Maya should have left, should have gone home, put on her pajamas, eaten ice cream, and cried herself to sleep like a normal person getting over heartbreak. But something in her had snapped when her former best friend Sarah texted her the photo, Derek and Vanessa, here, tonight, celebrating. Sarah knew what she was doing sending that picture. She'd always been jealous of what Maya and Derek had, or what Maya thought they'd had. The text that followed was even worse. "Guess he upgraded. You should see how happy he looks. He never looked at you like that." So Maya had come, not with a plan, exactly, but with a desperate, humiliating need to prove something. To whom, she wasn't even sure anymore. She just knew she couldn't let them see her broken. Couldn't let Derek think he'd destroyed her. Couldn't give Sarah the satisfaction of being right. That's when she saw him. Alexander Chen stood beside a black town car, phone pressed to his ear, looking every inch the billionaire CEO the tabloids painted him to be. His charcoal suit probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. Everything about him screamed wealth, power, and a world so far removed from hers it might as well have been Mars. She recognized him immediately. Everyone in the city knew Alexander Chen. At 32, he'd built a tech empire that revolutionized healthcare data systems. Forbes had just named him one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country. He was also notoriously private, famously single, and according to every article Maya had ever read about him, completely uninterested in the spotlight or the social climbing that came with his status. Which made what Maya was about to do absolutely insane. She didn't think. Thinking would have stopped her. Instead, she ran through the rain, her heels splashing through puddles, and stopped directly in front of him. He lowered his phone, dark eyes widening slightly as he took in her bedraggled appearance. Up close, he was even more striking than his photos suggested. Sharp cheekbones, intelligent eyes, and an expression that managed to be both guarded and curious. "I'm sorry," Maya gasped, water dripping from her hair. "I'm so sorry, but I need your help. Please. Just for 10 minutes. I'll explain everything, I promise, but I need you to act like you love me." Alexander Chen stared at her like she'd sprouted a second head. "Excuse me. My ex-boyfriend is in that restaurant with his new fiancée," Maya said, words tumbling out in a rush. "They got engaged 1 month after he dumped me because I wasn't successful enough, wasn't rich enough, wasn't enough, period. And I know this is crazy, I know I sound absolutely unhinged, but I can't let them see me alone and pathetic. I can't. Please. Just walk in there with me, put your arm around me, let me pretend for 10 minutes that I'm not a complete failure at life. I'll never bother you again. I'll disappear. But please. Act like you love me. Please." She was begging. Actually begging a complete stranger, a billionaire stranger, to participate in her pathetic revenge fantasy. The ridiculousness of it hit her all at once, and fresh tears sprang to her eyes. "God, I'm sorry. This is insane. Forget it. I'm just going to go drown myself in the East River and save us all the trouble." "What's his name?" Alexander's voice was quiet, but something in it made Maya stop mid-ramble. "What? Your ex? What's his name?" "Derek. Derek Morrison. He's a financial analyst at Whitmore and Associates, drives a BMW he can't really afford, and thinks wearing Patagonia vests makes him look successful. The bitterness in Maya's voice surprised even her. Something flickered across Alexander's face, recognition, maybe, or calculation. He glanced at the restaurant, then back at Maya, who stood shivering and humiliated in her ruined dress. Then, inexplicably, he shrugged out of his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It was still warm from his body, and smelled like expensive cologne and something clean and masculine that made her stomach flutter inappropriately. 10 minutes, he said. But we're doing this right. You're not some desperate ex trying to save face. You're a brilliant, compassionate woman who dodged a bullet and upgraded significantly. Can you sell that? Maya blinked at him, stunned. You're serious. You'll actually do this? I've sat through countless board meetings with men exactly like your ex-boyfriend, Alexander said, offering her his arm. Mediocre men who mistake arrogance for confidence and cruelty for honesty. It'll be my pleasure to ruin his evening. But Maya, he paused, and she realized she'd never told him her name. He must have read her confusion because he added, your nursing badge. It's pinned to your purse. She looked down. Sure enough, her hospital ID dangled from her crossbody bag, her smiling photo looking like it belonged to a different person entirely. If we're doing this, Alexander continued, we're doing it my way. No apologizing, no shrinking. You're with me now, and I don't date women who make themselves small. Understood. Maya nodded, throat tight with an emotion she couldn't name. This stranger, this billionaire, was offering her more than just a performance. He was offering her dignity. They walked into Marcello's together, Alexander's hand warm and steady at the small of her back. The maitre d' practically fell over himself greeting Mr. Chen, ushering them toward the best table in the house. Maya caught Derek's gaze as they passed his table, watched his eyes widen in shock, saw Vanessa's fork pause halfway to her mouth. Maya. Derek half stood, his face a comical mixture of confusion and something that looked suspiciously like jealousy. What are you doing here? Alexander turned, as if noticing Derek for the first time, though Maya suspected he'd clocked their table the moment they entered. I'm sorry, do we know you? I'm Derek Morrison. Maya's, he faltered. We used to date. Ah. Alexander's tone could have frozen fire. The ex. Maya's mentioned you. The way he said it made it clear nothing Maya had mentioned was flattering. His arm tightened around her waist, proprietary and protective all at once. Darling, should we say hello, or would you prefer to just enjoy our evening? Darling. He'd called her darling, and somehow made it sound absolutely natural, like he'd been saying it for years. Maya found her voice, and was surprised by how steady it sounded. We can say hello. After all, I should thank Derek. If he hadn't ended things, I never would have been free when Alexander asked me to dinner that first time. It wasn't entirely a lie. Derek had ended things, and Alexander had asked her to dinner, it just happened to be happening 5 minutes ago in the rain. Alexander Chen. Vanessa's voice went up an octave. The Alexander Chen. From Chen Technologies. Guilty, Alexander said, without enthusiasm. And you are. The dismissal in his tone was surgical. Maya watched Vanessa's expression crumble slightly, watched Derek's chest puff up the way it always did when he felt insecure. I'm Vanessa Hartford, Derek's fiancée. I work in corporate law at Bristol & Kane. She said it like she expected to be impressed. Congratulations on your engagement, Alexander said politely, in the tone of someone who could not care less. Maya, we should probably get to our table. We have those theater tickets, and you know how you hate missing the opening. They didn't have theater tickets. Maya hadn't been to a show since her student loan payments increased. But she nodded, letting Alexander guide her away, feeling Derek's stare burning into her back. Their table was perfect, intimate but visible, tucked into a corner with a view of the entire restaurant. Alexander held out her chair, waited until she was seated, then took his own seat across from her. Without the adrenaline, Maya suddenly felt the full weight of what she'd done crash over her. I can't believe I just did that, she whispered, hands shaking as she reached for her water glass. I can't believe you did that. You don't even know me. I could be a complete psychopath. Are you? Alexander asked, scanning the wine list. A psychopath? No. Just a regular amount of pathetic and desperate. You're not pathetic. He said it like a fact, not a comfort. You're hurt. There's a difference. And desperate. Maybe. But also brave. It takes courage to ask a stranger for help. It takes insanity, Maya corrected. Normal people don't accost billionaires in the rain and beg them to fake date them. Normal is overrated. Alexander ordered wine without asking what she preferred, somehow managing to choose her favorite varietal anyway, then leaned back in his chair, studying her with those dark, intelligent eyes. So, Maya, who works in nursing and has terrible taste in ex-boyfriends. Tell me why a man would be stupid enough to let you go. The question caught her off guard. You don't have to. I'm curious, he interrupted. Humor me. We have 10 minutes, remember. Might as well use them. So Maya told him. About medical school, about switching to nursing when the debt became too much, about the double shifts and the exhaustion and the way Derek had started making comments about her lack of ambition. About how he'd wanted her to quit and focus on being the right kind of partner, pretty, accommodating, available. About how she'd tried, God, she'd tried so hard to be what he needed, until she'd lost herself completely in the attempt. He said I was too much, Maya finished, surprised to find tears on her cheeks again. But what he meant was I wasn't enough. Not pretty enough, not successful enough, not wealthy enough. Just, not enough. Alexander was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but fierce. He was wrong. You don't know that. You don't know me. I know you spent 4 years in medical school, which means you're brilliant. I know you became a nurse, which means you're compassionate. I know you worked double shifts, which means you're dedicated. I know you loved someone enough to try to change yourself for them, which means you're capable of deep feeling. And I know that when your heart was broken, you didn't hide, you came out fighting, even if your strategy was questionable. His lips quirked in the smallest smile. That's not enough. That's remarkable. Maya stared at him, this stranger who saw her more clearly in 10 minutes than Derek had in 3 years. Why are you being so kind to me? Because someone should be, Alexander said simply. And because I know what it's like to be measured and found wanting by people who don't understand your value. Before Maya could respond, their waiter appeared with appetizers she didn't remember ordering. As they ate, they talked, really talked. Alexander asked about her work, and actually listened as she described the challenges of her pediatric ward. He told her about his company, about the satisfaction of knowing his software helped hospitals run more efficiently, helped doctors spend more time with patients like the ones Maya cared for. The 10 minutes stretched to 20, then 40. At some point, Derek and Vanessa left, Derek casting one last confused, jealous look their way. Maya barely noticed. She was too caught up in the way Alexander's eyes crinkled when he laughed, the way he leaned forward when she spoke like her words were the most important thing in the world. When the check came, discreetly hidden in a leather folder, Alexander didn't even glance at it, just tucked his card inside. Maya thought about protesting, about offering to pay her half, but something about his expression told her he'd be offended by the suggestion. This wasn't about money. It had never been about money. Thank you, she said as they stood to leave. For everything. You didn't have to be this kind. Maya. He paused in the doorway, rain still falling beyond the awning. Can I tell you something? She nodded. Derek Morrison is a junior analyst at a mid-tier firm who's been flagged by 3 separate HR departments for inappropriate behavior toward female colleagues. Vanessa Hartford was just named in a legal ethics complaint for mishandling client funds. They deserve each other, and you deserve so much better than either of them ever imagined. Maya's mouth fell open. How do you? I make it my business to know things, Alexander said. Especially about people who hurt others. He pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed her the screen. It was a contact card. His contact card. 10 minutes are up. But if you'd like to get dinner again sometime, real dinner, not fake revenge dinner, I'd very much like to take you out. No performance necessary. Just you and me, getting to know each other. You can't be serious, Maya breathed. You're Alexander Chen. You could date anyone. Models, actresses, literally anyone. I'm choosing to ask you, he said quietly. The woman who was brave enough to demand what she needed, even from a stranger in the rain. The woman who dedicated her life to helping sick children. The woman who deserves someone who sees her value. If you're interested, call me. If not, no hard feelings. But Maya, he stepped closer, and her breath caught. You were never not enough. You were always too much, too bright, too real, too alive, for someone like him. Don't ever make yourself small for anyone again. Then he was gone, disappearing into the rain and the night, leaving Maya standing with his business card in her hand and something like hope blooming in her chest. She called him 3 days later. They had dinner the following week, real dinner, at a quiet bistro where she didn't feel like she had to perform. Then coffee. Then a walk through Central Park. Then another dinner, and another, until weeks had passed and Maya realized she was falling in love with a man who'd first loved her at her lowest, most desperate moment. Alexander Chen had taught her something Derek never could. That the right person doesn't make you feel like you need to beg for love. They offer it freely, generously, with open hands and an open heart. And somewhere between that rainy night and now, Maya had learned to love herself the same way, wholly, unconditionally, without apology. 6 months later, when Alexander proposed, not at a fancy restaurant but in her tiny studio apartment, surrounded by her nursing textbooks and the chaos of her real life, Maya said yes without hesitation. Not because he was rich, or successful, or because he could give her the life Derek had denied her. But because when Alexander looked at her, he saw enough. More than enough. Everything.